The NEXSTA ENT hemostatic applicator is the next generation of ENT hemostatic applicators from Hemostasis LLC. Hemostasis LLC designs and manufactures advanced natural hemostatic agents that are effective at controlling bleeding from blood vessels and arteries. All hemostasis technologies are free from animal or human proteins. The NEXSTA ENT hemostatic applicator is packaged in a case of 5 applicators per box. Tear open the sterile pouch and remove contents. Inside each sterile pouch is one 3-gram bellows of NEXSTA hemostatic flowable particles, which is connected to a blue handle containing a removable plug. Remove the plug from the blue handle, being careful to keep the orifice upright. Once the plug has been removed, insert one of the disposable tips in the orifice of the blue handle about 1/2 inch. There are no components to mix. You are now ready to use the NEXSTA. Before using the NEXSTA, your sales rep should provide you with a non-sterile sample so you can develop your technique for applying the powder in your office. Practice applying the NEXSTA on a surface that will allow you to see the powder being dispensed out of the applicator. When you are ready to apply the powder, simply hold the tip downward and lightly depress the bellows applicator in small strokes approximately 1 inch long. This will help develop a surgical technique that you feel most comfortable with. NEXSTA is a 100% natural plant-based polysaccharide that utilizes a unique separation technology called Sepratech as a means to achieve hemostasis. The specially engineered polymer has been designed to rapidly and selectively absorb water from blood. This concentrates the red blood cells, platelets, clotting factors, and coagulation proteins on the surface of the particles. The concentrated blood components activate the platelets and trigger the coagulation cascade at the surface of the particles and the formation of a durable clot. For use in sinus surgeries, for example polypectomies, after removing polyps using an instrument such as a microdebrider, insert gauze sponge or neuropathy or your suction device to dry the bleeding surface as much as possible. Insert the tip of the NEXSTA and depress the bellows applicator to apply a liberal amount of NEXSTA powder to the bleeding tissue. Remove the applicator and pack the cavity with wet gauze patties or gauze, and allow 2 minutes to let the NEXSTA powder form a clotted surface. Gently take out the patties so as not to disrupt or remove the newly formed clot. Repeat this process if bleeding persists. You may find it beneficial to wet the gauze patties prior to packing. This will help ensure that the NEXSTA powder and clot are not disturbed when removing the packing. In this footage from an actual surgery, you can see the liberal application of the NEXSTA powder. For the purpose of demonstrating the NEXSTA technology and efficacy on bleeding tissue, we have chosen to use a liver in a 35 kilogram Yorkshire porcine liver model. After the surgical incisions or lacerations have been made, apply a liberal amount of NEXSTA to the bleeding surface. Using a gauze pad or pledget, apply pressure for approximately 1 to 2 minutes. Prior to removing gauze or pledget, thoroughly wet the pad and slowly remove it layer by layer so as not to disrupt or pull off the newly formed clot. Alternatively, you may wish to pre-soak the pledget prior to applying pressure. Once you are confident you have achieved hemostasis, you can leave the particles in place or, alternatively, while not necessary, you may irrigate the excess particles from the wound site and remove fluid with a suction device, taking precaution not to clog the suction tip with the particles that can form a gel matrix. Sufficient dilution of the particles with sterile water should prevent this. Should you notice that powder is not dispensing from the applicator tip, there are several things you will want to do to ensure that powder flows from the tip. Make sure the tip is not inserted more than 1/2 inch into the orifice at the end of the blue tip. Always hold applicator as upright as possible, making it perpendicular to the floor. Check the bellows to make sure that the powder is not hung up on the plastic walls, as static charges are inherent within plastic components. Should this be the case, using your thumb, tap the bellows on the side until you see that the powder is off the sides. It is important that powder always be loaded into the chamber of the blue applicator handle. When you see the bellows getting low on powder, you'll want to make sure the powder is completely off the sides of the bellows and loaded into the receiving chamber. For the purpose of this instructional video, We have removed the bellows so you can see the inside of the chamber. During the use of the NEXSTA ENT applicator, powder should fill the chamber. When the bellows is depressed, air forces the powder out of the chamber through the tip. Air pockets within the chamber can cause the powder not to dispense out of the tip. Therefore, it is important to ensure that the powder is not hanging up on the bellows so that it will flow down through the chamber when the bellows is depressed. Should the tip of the NEXSTA become occluded with blood, 2 additional tips are provided in the sterile pouch. Simply replace the plug tip with a new sterile tip and continue with the application of the NEXSTA powder. Alternatively, you can cut the plug tip off using a scissors. Topical surgical bleeding control has never been so safe, natural, and effective. If you have any questions about NEXSTA, contact your sales representative or technical support at Hemostasis LLC at 866-612-2568.